Every man must have someone to turn to. Fyodor Dostoyevsky. This quote, written by Dostoyevsky in one of his greatest works, Crime and Punishment, is rather thought provoking, even more so if you know the context behind this quote. The words are said by Marmeladov, a drunkard with responsibilities burdening him so much that he leaves everything behind: his job, his terminally ill wife, and his children. He abandons them, leaving them with nothing. He left them in such a state that his eldest daughter Sonia had to turn to prostitution to support her family. You must be thinking what a cruel man he is. Just how pathetic can he possibly be to be such a failure? Does he not realize his wrongdoings? And you'd be wrong. Marmeladov is in fact completely aware of his wrongdoings, and even though he doesn't show it, it is quite visible throughout the novel that no matter the amount of punishments and beatings he receives from everyone around him, no matter how much he is frowned upon by the society, his greatest punishment is himself. In fact, the more you dive into the novel, you realize that even though Marmeladov has very limited pages designated to his character, he still manages to leave an impact so brutal that you find your mind relating his character to people around you in real life, and maybe even within yourself, regardless of the fact that this character was created more than 200 years ago. I personally think of this character a lot when I struggle with understanding myself, and there might be other fictional characters who might remind you of such a feeling, like Jordan from Rockstar, Meursault from The Stranger, and many more. These characters, novels, and movies have formed an almost cult-like fan group. So, why is it that these characters resonate with us so much? I mean, they're fictional, so why? The answer is because we as humans struggle with these difficulties ourselves. You might even feel a strange, unknown emotion rising within you as I talk about this because this is a rather strange topic to discuss. Okay, let's take a real life example. Many people, when they get in a relationship with somebody, they might realize from the very start that this is not a relationship that could ever last, so they don't hesitate to end things and cut ties when the time calls for it, for weeks, months, or even years after the relationship dies. They might find themselves not caring about what the other party deals with in their day-to-day lives. However, when they find out from a friend or through other means that the person doesn't feel any attachment to them either anymore, they might fall into despair. This person might feel a sense of rage, sorrow, maybe remorse, or this person could even sort out for revenge. And you as a spectator might think this person's actions make no sense, and you'll be right. In fact, the person too might be smart enough to realize that their actions don't make any logical, emotional, or moral sense at all. And yet, this reasoning won't do a thing to change their decision. Why? Because they aren't themselves anymore. They might feel a part of them has gone missing, a part of them, a part of their life has been taken away from them, like they've been stripped of their dignity. This is because this person valued their partner more than they themselves had realized. And it can be the case with anybody, in any other situation, whether it be a kid losing their parents who they despised, or a student leaving a school they couldn't stand being in. This is because we humans don't realize just how much we value things until that value is spelled out to us. We like to put numbers on things like, oh, that's a nice car, must be worth $1 million, or damn, that guy has a girlfriend too hot for him, he must be rich. But the difference between two examples is that the first one is of us appreciating something, and the latter is of us trying to feel more secure about ourselves. We can almost conclude from what I've talked about so far that we humans almost try to deceive ourselves. We try to keep ourselves in prison from the thoughts that might bring about a change in our character, a change that we might dislike, be scared of, or a change we simply don't understand. However, this incapability of changing eats us from within. You can go about your life doing things that you feel are right. However, one must have the courage to ask, are my actions really right? Or maybe, are my actions right just for me? Or does everybody agree with them as well? Now, you must be thinking, so the solution is simple. I just need to find people who can give me an opinion whether my way of living is right or wrong. And you'd be wrong. People are different. We aren't born the same way, nor do we die the same way. So what makes you think we live the same way? And if we don't live the same way, how can we know who has the right way of living? And to that I'll say, we cannot. And that is really the only answer I have for you. That is the reason we don't understand ourselves. We live in an uncoordinated society with different lifestyles, different families, different faiths, different senses of justice. And yet, we are all the same. We are humans. We as humans failed to understand other humans. So, how can we succeed in understanding ourselves? Sure, you might know about yourself the most out of any other human on earth, but then again, do you? A very typical question we like to ask others is, if you could go back in time and change one thing you did, what would you change? Some answer this with these, like, I'll ask out my school crush, or I'll put in more efforts in that relationship, or I'd like to spend one more day with the person who unfortunately passed away. One thing you might find in common in these examples are that these are all the answers that are made out of the emotion of regret. On the other hand, some might struggle to find an answer to a question like this, but the one asking the question does not have the ability to understand whether they're struggling to answer because they just have so many regrets, or do they have none. So let me reread this quote for you. Every man must have someone to turn to. And if I ask you, who is that someone? Do you really, truly even have one?